Most stories about courage are loud. They involve speeches, fists, protests, applause. But not this one. This one begins in silence, in the loudest place in school, with a girl who spoke softly, and a room that responded by saying nothing at all, and with a boy who learned that the hardest battles in life aren't always fought with force. Sometimes they're not battles at all, just a quiet decision that changes everything. Chloe Kingston arrived in America with 2 suitcases, a tidy accent, and the kind of optimism you carry when you think new means exciting. 14. Black, British, slightly anxious, perfectly polite, still adjusting to how enormous everything in America felt. The roads, the houses, the voices. On her first morning, her mother ironed her uniform even though this school didn't require one. She smoothed Chloe's curls into a neat puff and said, "Just be yourself. People will love you." Chloe believed her. That belief lasted 3 hours. It cracked during lunch, when she entered a cafeteria so loud it felt like a train station, students grouped in clusters like galaxies. She smiled, hopeful, brave. No one smiled back. She found an empty table, sat, and unwrapped her sandwich. She ate slowly, meticulously. She waited. No one came. And Chloe, who had lived on 2 continents, understood in that moment that this was not a place of welcome. At Ridgeway High, the cafeteria has an invisible map, not drawn, but followed, and everyone knew the borders. The athletes by the windows, the theater kids near the stage posters, the debate team in tidy clusters, marching bands spread wide, loud, confident. The perimeter was the exclusion zone. It was where Chloe sat, visible but untouched. A boy walked by, glanced at her face, then at her hair. A curious flash, something between confusion and fascination. His friend whispered, "She's new. Came from London." Another murmured, "Her voice is so proper." Chloe adjusted her posture. She tried to look content. She tried to swallow the lump rising in her throat. She thought, tomorrow will be better. But tomorrow looked just like today. Aiden Brooks noticed her. Not dramatically, just noticed. Because she was alone, and aloneness has a gravity to it. Aiden was anchored by Trevor, his best friend, who was loud, confident, and the undisputed architect of the social order. Trevor didn't look at Chloe at all, and in a room full of noise, that absolute refusal to see was the loudest thing. Chloe saw Aiden too. Their eyes met across the cafeteria for half a second. Her smile was small, polite, the way British people smile when unsure of the rules, yet trying anyway. Aiden looked away first, not because he didn't like her, but because he didn't know what to do with different. If you've ever been that kid sitting alone, or wish someone had bridged the silence with their kind presence, then you can relate to this story. Hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment. It helps more people see stories like this. Now back to Chloe. Days stacked like trays. Lunch after lunch. Chloe learned routines. Book open. Eyes down. Chew quietly. Pretend solitude is a choice. At home, her mother asked, "How was school?" Chloe smiled gently. "Fine." It was almost believable. One morning in English class, the students took turns reading a paragraph. When Chloe spoke, heads lifted slightly, like a radio tuning to an unexpected song. Her voice was soft, rounded vowels, delicate consonants. The British kind people on TV used to sound intelligent or dramatic. A boy muttered, "Say water again." His friend whispered, "She sounds like Harry Potter." Laughter flickered. Chloe forced a tiny smile. She lowered her eyes. Chloe thought to herself, "It's not cruel, just unfamiliar. That's better, isn't it?" Still, her cheeks warmed. Her voice shrank. At lunch she held her book higher, like a shield, and the world kept turning without her. A week later in PE, the girls crowded around mirrors, tossing ponytails and laughing in slang Chloe didn't quite catch. She stood near them, not part of them. Her leggings neat, her movement unsure. Someone asked, "Do you, shave your arms in England?" Another girl stared at her hair, curiosity pure but naive. "Is it hard to brush?" Not insults, not kindness, just the awkwardness of teenagers who have never had to think beyond their own reflection. Chloe smiled a practiced, quiet smile. "You get used to it," she said softly. They nodded, already forgetting the moment. She did not. Aiden wasn't cruel. He just wasn't brave. He laughed at Trevor's jokes. He joined the noise. But every day his eyes drifted to Chloe. Her stillness, her posture, her determined silence. Guilt sat in his stomach like a stone. One afternoon, Trevor was mocking the kids who lived on the far side of the district. Aiden laughed along. The sound was thin and false. He felt the cold, hard logic of his own cowardice. His safety was directly subsidized by her isolation. His laughter was a moral betrayal. At home, his father asked, "New kids at school?" Aiden opened his mouth, closed it. He didn't say her name. He didn't say anything. Courage isn't only about speaking up. Sometimes it's about admitting you're afraid to. It happened suddenly. A seventh grader stumbled, sending milk and food scattering across the tile near Chloe's table. Everyone froze. Chloe stood before anyone else moved. She knelt, gathered food, reached for napkins. The younger girl blinked tears, humiliated, trembling. Chloe whispered, "Don't worry. It's okay. Breathe." Aiden recognized the younger girl. She'd once giggled when someone mimicked Chloe's accent. Chloe didn't pause, didn't hesitate. She just helped. Grace with no audience. Dignity in silence. When she finished, she sat back at her empty table. Milk stained her sleeve. Her hands shook just barely. Aiden felt something crack inside him. Shame tastes different when kindness exposes it. 5 minutes until the bell. Aiden stared at the distance, the 8 yards of tile that felt like a canyon, at the quiet strength in her stillness, at the loneliness she wore without collapsing beneath it. He looked at his friends, unaware, laughing, safe. He felt the weight of staying seated. He felt the sting of knowing silence was cruelty. His arguments, "What will Trevor say? I'll be an outcast," were frantic and self-serving. Chloe thought to herself, same routine. Eat, breathe, leave quietly. She had stopped expecting rescue long ago. Aiden inhaled, exhaled. He pushed back his chair. The sound was loud, violent, like truth dragging across the floor. Heads turned. Conversation stuttered. Fear punched his stomach. But shame pushed harder. He picked up his tray and walked towards Chloe. One step, another, each one heavier than the last. Trevor called his name in disbelief. Somebody hissed, the sound hitting his back like a rock. Crossing 8 yards shouldn't feel like crossing an ocean. But it did. But each step was a step toward her, and a step away from the comfortable life he'd always known. Aiden reached her table. He didn't speak. He didn't smile. He noticed her carefully constructed wall, her backpack, coat, and books stacked on the bench beside her. This small intrusion made his arrival momentous. He set his tray down. He slid onto the bench. The world held its breath. Chloe froze, spoon midair, disbelief warring with caution in her eyes. Aiden inhaled shakily. Their silence was not awkward. It was sacred. 2 teenagers breathing in the same small miracle. Slowly, Chloe nodded. The tiniest, most powerful thank you a person could offer without speaking. Change rarely marches. It tiptoes. A theater girl looked over, eyes blinking with relief. Recognition? Courage borrowed from courage? She stood, tray in hand, moved toward the table. A boy from chess followed. Then a quiet kid who always ate near the vending machines. Not many, just enough. The perimeter bent, cracked, softened. Chloe blinked fast. She would not cry here, not where she survived alone for so long. But her chest felt warm, not with triumph, but with breath. The bell rang. Chairs shifted. Voices resumed. Chloe stood slowly. Aiden too. For a moment they faced each other. Not deeply, not dramatically, just honestly. A nod. A shared exhale. Someone at another table whispered, "Maybe I'll sit there tomorrow." That's how revolutions begin. Not in crowds, but in hearts. The next day, Aiden sat with Chloe again. No hesitation this time. The theater girl returned. The chess kid waved once. A girl Chloe recognized from English lifted a hand in an awkward half-greeting. Slow. Believable. Human. Chloe thought to herself, maybe belonging doesn't arrive. Maybe it grows. In life, the bravest acts aren't loud. They don't trend. They don't spark speeches. Sometimes courage looks like standing up in a cafeteria, carrying a tray across a room, and sitting beside someone who shouldn't have been alone in the first place. Most lines in life don't exist until someone refuses to obey them. Aiden walked across one, and the world, just a little, changed shape. If this story moved you, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. Tell us, what small act of kindness changed your life? Your comment might be the reminder someone needs today. Subscribe for more human stories that stay with you. Quiet courage matters. Empathy matters. We tell the stories the world needs to remember.